Too many business owners are literally living paycheck to paycheck. You start a business so that you can have more freedom and you can build wealth and you can build a life of your dreams. Yet that old adage that leaders eat last has kept too many business owners in this negative cycle, or this cycle of insanity where they just barely scrape by. My guest today, Mike Michalowicz, is the author of Profit First, All In, and like 5 or 6 other books, because he is an expert on small and mid-sized businesses. And he's going to talk today about how you make sure that you take care of yourself, the business owner, first and foremost, so that the business can thrive and continue to grow. He drops many, many nuggets of wisdom here on not only how to make sure that you're running a profitable business, but how do you build a culture? How do you build a team that wants to come to work? How do you build a team that is aligned? And also, as a leader, how do you know what's most important to the members of your team so you can help them achieve that as well? I thoroughly love this interview. Mike is just a stud and just a great, cool guy. You're really going to enjoy this one and get a lot of value out of it. On today's episode of the ThriveMore podcast, I have the pleasure of speaking with Mike Michalowicz. And Michael is the entrepreneur behind 3 multi-million-dollar companies and is the author of several best-selling business books, including Profit First, Clockwork, The Pumpkin Plan, and his newest book, All In. He's a former columnist for the Wall Street Journal and business makeover expert for MSNBC, and he regularly travels the globe now as an entrepreneurial advocate and keynote speaker. He is the guy people come to the conferences to see to speak. So with that introduction, Mike, welcome to the ThriveMore podcast.
Roger, it's a pleasure to be here with you. I think the people who come to see me that I can guarantee will come is like my mom, maybe my wife. That's
two. I love it.
Dude, I literally had a presentation here. I live in New Jersey, in the New Jersey area. And my sister's like, yeah, you should have mom go. She's never seen you speak. So here's the audience. And then there's one person clapping. It's my 90-year-old mother. It was the most embarrassing situation. It felt like I was a teenager all over again with my mom.
God, that's funny. All right. So not to one up you, but just to show you that misery loves company. I played in I'm a musician from my younger years, and I was in my 40s just revisiting it, playing in an acoustic duo. Like we play wine bars and nice coffee houses and restaurants and stuff. We played at one bar, and the only 2 people in that bar was the cook, and there was nobody ordering food, and the bartender. And at one point during our set, they both went outside for a smoke.
Oh,
that's a
you
true story.
You gotta keep jamming, man.
That's a true story. We were playing to an empty room.
Where do you live by? I know this is like we're going off the rail.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, so I play guitar. I got one back here. I'm looking for a jam partner.
Yeah,
because you have a loop pedal, and but I need someone just to jam out with so you can feel it. So,
dude, we'll talk. We'll talk afterwards.
All right, sounds good.
We'll talk afterwards. All right. Well, let's jump in. I know your background because I've read Profit First. I read that probably 4 years ago. And then recently read your newest one, All In. But can you give some background just to the listeners who may not be quite as familiar with your work, just a real brief synopsis of how did you go from, running a small business to now really being a global expert on this stuff, especially around small to mid-sized businesses?
I think, so I've been an entrepreneur my entire life and had some early wins like exits sold my businesses. Mm-hmm. I thought I knew everything, had a massive collapse as an angel investor because I didn't know anything. And it became a wake-up call. And I won't belabor, but I did go through depression and struggle.
Sure.
And a recurring theme was like, why am I such an idiot? Well, the numbers point to we're all idiots, and that can't be true. I think it was an SBA study identified 83% of businesses survive check by check, yet 95% of businesses are created for financial freedom. Like the primary reason is I'm doing this because I want to be financially free. I want personal freedom, flexibility, and I want to have impact. I want to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
Always those top 3. So I'm like, everyone's trying to make some form of wealth for themselves, but none of us can figure out what's wrong with us. Are we all idiots? Well, that started this insatiable thirst to figure out what makes entrepreneurship tick. Profit First was discovering that the profit formula we use is wrong. We're told a lie. Clockwork is that the key to efficiency is not systems and SOPs. It was all this stuff that was contrary to what I thought to be true. So I've become a contrarian entrepreneurial author. I do own many businesses today, but my primary focus is researching out what makes businesses tick. I guinea pig on my own companies.
Mhm.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it's a disaster. And then when it works, I codify it by writing a book.
Gotcha.
That's what I do.
Gotcha. I love it. Well, if we can jump into Profit First, because that one was first recommended to me by a mentor, and
Cool.
I want you to speak to it and to the audience. And I don't want to steal your thunder, but it's a book that is contrarian because
Yeah.
we're always told owners eat last, entrepreneurs, get paid last. That is very different than the message you share in Profit First. So speak to that philosophy and how did you arrive at that philosophy?
Yeah. So the philosophy I have, this is for every book I write, is what is the desire we have?
Yeah.
What do we want? What's the outcome we're getting? And if there's a discrepancy between the desire and outcome, it's always the method in the middle that's the issue. Maybe how we're executing, maybe our beliefs or our understanding, but there's something with the method. So what I realized in my own journey, but also talking with countless entrepreneurs, is I want to be profitable. I want to have money for myself and serve my community and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, how much money do you have? Most business owners make less than they would if they had a job, are working ridiculous hours, and become financially resentful of their company. I'm paying employees, but I'm not making money.
Yeah.
So desire and outcome is way off. So then I look at, well, what's the method we follow? And the method we follow is we take our sales, we subtract our expenses, and what's left over is profit. It's the foundational formula. And I'm like, what's wrong with that method? And I realized, while logically it makes sense, behaviorally it makes no sense. Because it's human nature, when something comes last, we disregard it. If my health matters, I say my health comes first. I don't say my health comes last. Yet we call profit the bottom line, the year end, the last or final take. All things saying it can wait till later. So the wiring of humanity is don't worry about it now, worry about it in the future. And therefore, it never gets done. The core lesson from Profit First is profit is not an event as in eventuality. Profit is a habit.
Yeah. And if you, this is a rhetorical question, so let me rephrase it. Can you share a couple of examples? You can blind them. We don't have to know the names, but a couple of examples where you've worked with somebody using and applying the Profit First methodology and just how it changed their outcome. It changed their happiness. It changed their,
I'll share names too. One of my favorite stories is a company, an organization that's become pretty famous now. You may have heard of them. They're the Savannah Bananas. It's a baseball team out of Savannah that is effectively the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. And if you haven't heard of them, Google them. They just sold out Fenway, 60,000 people. Yankee Stadium, they're touring all the major stadiums. Most profitable baseball team on a percentage basis. Even major league teams, they make more money on a percentage basis.
Yeah.
The founders, Jesse Cole and Emily Cole, deployed Profit First. In fact, he sent me a note saying, we're setting this up, and I've subsequently became friends with them, visited with them. Here's what's so interesting. They were originally what's called a all-star team, minor leagues, effectively. Yeah. You don't make money. Minor leagues don't make money. They're if anything, they're a farm team for the big leagues. Their first game, they had 300 people attend, and it's all family and friends, kind of like your gig at the,
that's 300 more than you and I had. So
exactly. I wish I had. That's a dream come true for me too. But for baseball, you make $10 a ticket, so it's $3,000. The expenses to run is about $5,000 per game, so you lose $2,000 every night. That's the win. So they said, we're going to do Profit First. Well, they took out profit from that $3,000 they made, and it says, gosh, we only have like $2,500 left. How do we run the business off $2,500? So what it does is it forces innovative thinking. They said, we can't afford the scoreboard. So they said, no scoreboard. First baseball team to say, we're ditching the scoreboard. Instead, they asked the audience, like between boxing bouts, to hold the score up and walk around. They said, we want to get a cheer squad or something going. They said, we're going to have the audience do it. The rule was you had to be 80 years or older, female. Teeth were optional. And now you're the grandma bananas. They started making the audience part of the show. And now it's not just because of Profit First. They are highly innovative.
Sure.
They started making this whole Harlem Globetrotter scene. They exploded in success. The irony is by forcing profitability, it also forces innovation and you redefine your industry. They're one of my favorite examples because many people now recognize the name. And if you haven't heard of them yet, within the next month or two, you're going to hear them again and again.
Yeah.
So those are the type of stories that have come out from Profit First.
I love your just the little throwaway comment you made it, but it's powerful is the lack of unlimited capital, a constricted resource forces more creativity, forces you to be, to think to the next level, which I love that,
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
If you look back at your own life and I look at mine, there's been times we had less money than we do today.
Yep.
Life was good, man.
It's really
I remember
easy.
back in college, you figure out how to get a pizza for $5, or you work with some buddies, or I remember when I was first starting out my author career 15 years ago and committing to this, going to conferences and saying, my gosh, if I get $100 to speak, that would be amazing. And I still don't have enough to pay food. I'd rather that paying groceries. How am I going to eat lunch? Well, I just go to the buffet. It's a little bit sinful, but I would go to the buffet of other events. And if there was some stuff left over after everyone else ate,
sure,
I was grabbing my food. So when put under constraint, we actually explode in finding the solution. What most businesses do is they say, every dollar comes in is every dollar I'm going to spend. And I'm saying every dollar comes in, first take your profit, hide it from your business. Your business will tell you what's truly available for expenses. If you want this profit, you have to do this.
Yeah.
And the benefit is your mind will say, how am I going to make this work? And you will always find a way.
Yeah. It's so simple, but it's just brilliant. This segment is sponsored by Rockbox Fitness Franchising. Take control of your destiny and join the boutique fitness revolution with Rockbox Fitness. If you're ready to make a real impact in your community and own your own business that empowers people to achieve their best life, then Rockbox is the opportunity you've been looking for. They provide comprehensive support from site selection, upfit, training, and turnkey marketing, so you can open your studio with confidence and a strong recurring revenue member base. Visit rockboxfitness.com and click on franchise opportunities to learn more about this exciting venture in the fast-growing boutique fitness industry. It's time to turn your passion for fitness and for business into a thriving venture. To kind of encapsulate Profit First, if there was, besides not setting your profit aside, of course, to begin with, and then determining your constraints and how to maximize that, what is one of the larger mistakes? I'm sure there's many, but what is one of the larger mistakes that you see more often than not with a small to mid-sized business owner who's trying to scale, when he or she is trying to scale, in that context of the profit first mentality?
Okay, within context of profit first, there's two things I want to share. One is thinking that we can sell our way to success. I need to sell more in order to be profitable. That's the greatest lie. More sales is more stress, more responsibility. I sell to you, Roger. I sell to someone else. I got to serve 2 people. I sell to another. Now I got 3 people. It actually dilutes our energy. You do need a source of revenue, so you do need sales, but more sales doesn't bring health. Better sales brings health. So how do you do that? You figure out what's profitable. So by taking your profit first, you are forced then to bifurcate the good sales from the bad sales. On the mechanical front, the biggest mistake is people think that budgets and spreadsheets and an accounting system is their financial solution. Those things are full of powerful, necessary information. But for the entrepreneur, it's rarely something we refer to. Yeah. So those are put on a shelf. And if you're not going to be using it, you're going to be having trouble. Now, to force the discipline of using it, it's very hard. I'm going to go back to accounting school. I'm going to learn how to master stuff. No, you're an entrepreneur. So instead of fighting your behaviors, let's leverage it. Most entrepreneurs log into their bank account. I surveyed now literally hundreds of thousands, informal at audiences, sometimes formal in surveys. How do you manage your business? And the vast majority, and these are businesses doing hundreds of thousands, sometimes tens of millions of dollars, that simply say, I log into my bank account. If I have money, I spend it. If I don't, I panic. So Profit First is a system that works at your bank. We have to intercept where you're going.
Yeah.
So we set up multiple accounts like the envelope system at your bank. Money comes in, we carve it up, we pre-allocate it to its intended use before we spend it. And now by doing what you always do, log into your bank account, you see, I have this much money to spend on capital expenditures like equipment, this much money to cover payroll, this much money is already allocated toward my profitability, and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the envelope system, but just higher tech. Yeah, just higher using
Yeah, and not even that much higher tech.
Yeah.
Like the goal of everything I do, and I think for us entrepreneurs, is make it as simple and easy as possible. And 80% of the way there is way better than trying to have perfection and never getting there in the first place. I'm not saying Profit First is the perfect system, but it is, to me, surprising how effectively you can run your business just by setting up a few accounts at your bank and get almost all the way there. Honestly, we do have an accounting system. We do have budgets and stuff. I still don't look at them. And I've been doing Profit First myself for 15, 16 years. We just passed 63 consecutive quarters of profit distributions. Wow. I call my accountant. He goes, dude, you're the most profitable company I've ever worked with in the history of being an accountant. Not just on dollars. He goes, just on, you never miss it.
Yeah.
And he's like, what's the budget? And I'm like, I actually don't have a budget. I don't even know how it works. I'm not, you're my budget guy. So I just work with my natural wiring.
You need to run for office, and you need to be on the Doge committee. You need to be on the Doge committee. That's
yeah. No, I'll skip politics, but thanks.
Hey, I've got, for those of you listening on Spotify or Apple and not watching on YouTube, I'm holding up Mike's latest book called All In. Wonderful read. All of his books are available on Amazon and where books are sold. But his latest is All In. And, in this book, Mike, you tackle how to hire the right talent, develop your team members, match the right talent to the right job. I'm curious, because you earlier said, you kind of make mistakes, you figure it out, you figure out the hacks, and then you codify it by writing a book. What did you hope to accomplish when you wrote All In?
Okay, the number one thing was the refrain I hear from business owners, and they say, I wish my employees would act like owners. Yeah. I hear over and over again. I said, oh, okay, that's what I wish too. And I say, what's the reality? So the desire is, I wish my employees would act like owners. What is the outcome, the reality? And they say, most people don't care about the business. The turnover is massive. Out of the 5 people I've hired over the last year or two, one person is pretty darn good and everyone else, not a fit. So I'm like, how do we improve it? So I looked at the method in the middle. I'm like, my God, we run an ad on Indeed. We interview 3 people, and it's this panic to bring on one person right now because we need them, and they're not a fit. What's the fix? And I found something that blew my mind away. It's the method we now use, and the recruiting has improved tremendously. How do you empower your team? I want a team that's all in, but they're not. What do you do? I was like, my gosh, you actually walk away from the business, where most business owners are inserting themselves more, trying to lead by demonstrating what a leader's like so people will follow. And it's actually abandoning, air quotes around that, your business. That's the best thing you can do. So just a lot of these contrary, unexpected things. And I can go through them for sure. But
yeah, well, I've got a couple notes because I wanted to ask you about like this. I love being a podcast host because I get to read great books and then spend a half hour with people that wrote the book, and really say, well, I want to understand what you meant by this, which is really fun for me. You talk about a pretty powerful technique where when you're checking references, so checking references has fallen out of favor with the digital age. And we just go on LinkedIn and we think we know the person. You write almost an entire chapter on the importance of checking references, but you include a question I just think is brilliant. And I'm going to paraphrase it, but it's something like, we have many roles the person could serve in.
Yeah.
What role or job do you think this candidate would be best for? Talk about that question and why that question is so important.
Yeah. So there's so much concern about the litigious nature of the hiring practice that any referral source is coming in knowing that if they say something negative, that could haunt them.
Yep.
So the mistake is to call a referral and say, hey, you were a reference. Is there anything I should be aware of or concerned about? I was like, no. The person's amazing. We fired him. So what we want to do is allow them to frame something that's positive, but get a reality check. So I'll be seeking someone for a certain position, but what I'll do is I'll list positions that are contrary to what I'm looking for. So maybe I need someone that's very data oriented. Someone's going to crunch numbers. So I'll go to this referral and say, listen, I have actually 4 positions I'm considering, and I was enamored by this candidate, so I wanted to call you. We have a position where they can just do data crunching. It's like 8 hours a day. But we have another position that's very creative. They're actually on their own, and it's just mindset thinking. We have another person where they can work, another position where they're going to work kind of isolated in a lab. And there's another one where they're managing a team. Of these 4 spots, if you had to pick a spot that they would best be suited for, what would it be? And they say, you know what? That's someone who's got to work with a team. They are so creative. That's the position. I'm like, oh, Thank you. That's what I was feeling, but I wanted to hear the affirmation, goodbye.
Yep.
I'm hiring for a data position. I found someone that's qualified for something else. Here's also the reality I found, Roger. Everyone is an A player. Every human on this planet is an A player in something.
Yep.
I just may not have that something for them. And it would be a shame if I try to put a square peg in a round hole. Where's the square hole? Let me free them up for that.
Yeah.
So they're an A player, just maybe not an A player for me.
Yeah. That question is brilliant because it allows the person to give you real feedback without, as you said, risking something or retaliation or kind of litigation. Yeah.
Right. And I can integrally say back to the candidate, I called your references. They were so complimentary of you. Yeah. Good job. Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have this position that's going to be a fit for you at our time, but I wish you the best of success.
Yeah.
And they can call and say, hey, the guy said you say great things. I didn't get the job, but you said great things. Like, yeah, I spoke about your talent. So
yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by ThriveMore Autopilot. The latest data shows a large amount of small to mid-sized business owners are living paycheck to paycheck. And that is not why you started a business in the first place. We all start businesses to create the freedom in our lives that we want and to give us options. But to do that, you need more leads and you need to turn those prospects into long-term paying customers. Well, the solution is ThriveMore Autopilot. ThriveMore Autopilot is the turnkey solution to take the stress and the hard work out of new customer acquisition, which is the lifeblood of any small business. ThriveMore Autopilot works on your behalf to generate a waterfall of new leads through various channels, to nurture those leads with proprietary AI solutions that mimic human interaction, to sell memberships and help you increase your monthly recurring revenue. And they even provide you coaching and your team coaching on the most effective sales techniques and give you a community of other like-minded business owners. ThriveMore Autopilot is how you scale your business without stress and the relentless phone calls and texts and reach outs to the prospects to get them to show up for that first appointment or to show up to that call. So learn how ThriveMore Autopilot can help you win big by going to thrivemore.ai. That's thrivemore.ai. ThriveMore Autopilot, the strategic partner for small to mid-sized business owners to help you scale and live the life of your dreams. Something else you talk about in here, which I've already applied, is the first 30 minutes of an annual retreat, you write about the importance of asking the attendees, why do you think we're even in this room? And what do you think the purpose of this meeting will actually serve? And again, I'm paraphrasing some, but I guess what I've taken it to is if we ask an employee, how do you make money for the company? How do you actually generate profit and drive growth? And they can't answer that really simply. As a leader, we failed. And it seems like you were starting to get at that with this 30 minutes of pre-annual meeting, but I could have misread that. So
yeah, that's part of it. Yeah. But I also found that we as business owners have been programmed to build culture. Like, what's your culture? And I want to introduce a new concept. I call it community. What I found is the culture conundrum is I have a set of values and belief system. And in culture, what we try to do is build people that share the same values, but it causes this kind of myopic tunnel vision. Community is like the town, Roger, you live in, or the town I'm in. It's a mix of way different people, but there's still this common bond. I'm proud to be a part of my town, just like my community members are here too, but we're very diverse in our beliefs. Businesses need to move more in my research to a community-based platform. So what's interesting is I used to say, what's the X on the map? Here's where we're headed. This is the vision. And I got to make sure everyone's aligned with that. Now I say, what is everyone's X on their maps? And my job is not to build the vision for the company. It's to embrace everyone's vision. So we kick off these meetings and say, what do you think we're looking to achieve? And we also ask them, what are you looking to achieve? And when I understand that someone here is looking in their job to push our marketing forward, they may be seeing something that I don't see, where I thought it was more about actually product enhancement. But secondly, someone may say, on a personal front, I'm looking to buy my first house. And when I understand that, now I understand the full person. And they're not here to serve me. They're here to serve their own life vision. Yeah. And my job is to walk arm in arm with folks. So I don't send X on the map for me. I want to send X on the map for us. And say, listen, I'm hearing we need to enhance our marketing. I also hear that, Andrea is looking to purchase her first house. How can we move toward this all of this collectively. And not, listen, this is not Make-A-Wish Foundation. My job is not to buy that first house. But when I put her own personal vision at the same level of importance of my vision, then we're marching arm in arm. And we just have dialogues around it.
Yeah.
I used to think it was all about my vision. And it's not. It's about our collective vision. That's the key to this.
Yeah. Is it fair to tie in together the dream tree concept with that?
Oh yeah. That's exactly where it goes. So this is my office as opposed to home office.
Yeah.
And on the other wall, these walls are maybe 12 feet high. We have this tree. Actually, you can see there's a tree behind me similar to this, but it's this wallpaper cut like a tree. It's a barren tree. What we do in the beginning of each quarter, it was a barren tree, we write down all of our personal dreams and visions. One person here has had cancer and they want to be cancer-free for their 7th year. There's other dreams they have, and we all document it. At the end of each quarter, we sit down and we say, how are you doing on your dreams? And when you achieve one, cancer-free for my 7th year, learn to play guitar or something like that, you put it on a leaf and you put on this tree. This tree has blossomed. And what we're showing is that our time together in this business is about serving all of us collectively. And that it's extremely important. It's actually the biggest feature in our entire office is what everyone's achieving for themselves individually. Again, we're not making those wishes happen. We're just making sure that they stay in front of them.
Yeah.
What happens is reciprocity is my colleagues are putting the vision of the company, which is really simply one of my goals. It's really my goal. They're putting it up there too as important because I'm putting theirs as important. The fun little just final vignette about this. There's so many leaves on this thing. It is the biggest tree you've seen in your life. I told the team, Mike, I think we should take down all the leaves and start anew. And they said, we're not touching the tree, Mike. We're going to get clouds and put our things up there. We're going to put flowers, but we want to recognize what we've achieved together. So that's the power of the tree.
That's community. That's real community. Yeah.
It's cool. Yeah. It touched my heart.
That's super cool. One last question, positivity or death, exclamation point, is something you said. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, that's one of my values. So I have a value called blood money, and that sounds very draconian, but blood money means that money, the importance of money is like the blood of an organization. I need to treat it as such. Positivity or death is one of my values, is that anything can be framed as an opportunity or it can start this downward spiral. Our company went through an unexpected challenge, which I'm not allowed to talk about, but 2 years ago, you can just Google it and you can see what this other company tried to do to us. And it could have been a tough period. And we sat down together and said, listen, we have a choice right now in this moment. This can be our biggest opportunity, or we can start this spiral of frustration and anger and like, woe is us. And we chose positivity and we were able to resolve that situation. But our team is healthier and stronger and better. I'm actually grateful now in a very weird way for what this aggressive company did to us. But gosh, are we grateful for it? The funny thing is my team here isn't all that same value. That's my value.
Sure.
But when the situation presents itself, the person that has that value has the opportunity to step up and say, listen, this is a way we can play these cards. We have a couple other people here that they aren't that positive, rosy glasses, optimist type of person. They're much more aggressive, much more confrontational, and they would have taken a different approach. And there's times they need to step up. Yeah. So I think all of us need to know our individual values, and there's a time to play that card. And when you do, that's when you step into your leadership role.
I love it. I'm going to ask you one final question I ask every guest. Let's fast forward to the end of your life, Mike. You have helped so many entrepreneurs. You've helped me personally. You've helped just so many business owners, and you're doing what you love. But, every life is finite. We get to the end.
Sure. Yeah.
Whenever that is, hopefully it's many, many decades from now.
Yeah. Hopefully not within an hour from now.
Hopefully not. So
hopefully not. Yeah.
Well, we get there and we're at your funeral and a loved one is reading your eulogy. But Mike, they're only allowed 3 words to describe you. They don't have to make a phrase or be some cute, motto, but just like 3 words that if that's all they're allowed to say to everyone that's in attendance, what 3 words do you hope that loved one chooses to describe their impact or your impact on them and the world?
I would hope they would just say, good freaking dude. I don't want to be, I don't aspire to have a pedestal built or anything like that. Yeah. Listen, I know 200 years from now, not a single person's going to know who I am or was or care. And that's cool. I ain't George Washington, and there's very few names that live on in perpetuity.
Yeah.
But I know for our moment together, when we're done with this, my biggest hope is you're like, that's a good freaking dude.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to be a good dude. And that would be the ultimate compliment if I can get that. Genuinely. I don't want people to feel like scripted, like, hey, he was a good dude. Where's my money in the will, Mike? I just want people to say, that was a good dude. I want to share one last thing. I know we got to split.
Yeah.
Check this out. This is a aged picture of me. I use some AI. Ironically, I have a full head of hair. That's bullshit. But I have an aged picture of myself because I'm thinking of that moment. Maybe this is the day I die. I don't know. But every morning I wake up, I look at this picture here in my office when I come in and say, am I doing something today that guy at his funeral is going to hear the words, he was a good freaking dude.
How do you become that guy? Yeah. Well, let me tell you, my experience over the last 30 minutes with you, you're a good freaking dude. And I am really grateful that you came on today. And I just appreciate the expertise that you dropped. And I appreciate the help you've given me through your books. So thank you.
Roger, I'm flattered you had me on your show. I'm wishing you great success with this. And thank you for having me.
Oh, you bet. My pleasure. Thank you for tuning in to the ThriveMore podcast. Don't forget to take a look at the show notes for any of the resources that we mentioned during the podcast. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you have access to the latest and the greatest. You can connect with me on any of the socials at Real Roger Martin. And be sure to check out our website, ThriveMoreBrands.com. There you'll find information on the brands we support and information on franchising. Thanks again for tuning in.